All right. So if we could stand like right about
Sure.
here. Actually, if you could stand, yeah, that'd be good. And we don't have to worry about looking at the camera or anything,
Okay.
but I like to have it on a stand because, like if I was interviewing someone, I'd have to be constantly putting my microphone in their face. So my name's Jeff. What's your
Nice
name?
to meet you. My name's Eric.
I'll put my mask on.
Yeah.
I always like when in Rome,
No,
do
I
as
get it.
Rome do.
I get it. It doesn't matter either.
So what's your initial reaction, I guess, to that question? What do you think happens when we die or after this life?
So, I'll be honest, I'm not exactly too sure. Like, I've thought about it, and there's different ways I can see it. In some ways, partly based on how all religions think. So, like, there's something after, kind of like either in the form of reincarnation or a higher plane, typically. So that's probably where I would be, because there's a notion that sometimes that your reality is a dream, that you wake up into a higher being, reincarnation, which is goes to the next life.
Yeah.
So I see it more as death as like the next part, I guess you could say, than anything else. So that's probably what I would say probably happens when you die.
Yeah. So I was going to say, like, it sounds like you have a belief in the spiritual, but you mentioned like you could wake up from this.
Yeah, that's more.
And
the
so it's like this
part.
is less like solid or physical than maybe the reality that awaits us.
Yeah, that's the other way to look at it. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you, Mike? Do you come from a church background or religious?
So, my family is technically Catholic. We don't really practice religion.
It's definitely a culture too. It's not.
Yeah,
just
it's more of a culture than anything. But like to say I believe in God, yes, I believe in some form of a higher being. As to what it is another story.
Yeah.
And I'm also not exactly the fondest of organized religion.
Yeah. So, just because of some of the scandals and things like that, or
not just the scandals. Like if you go through history, like a lot of things have happened throughout history that organized religion tends to be a problem with that. Like, don't get me wrong, the sense of the community, the sense of morality is very good.
Yeah.
The problem is when people start to blindly follow it, that becomes an issue.
Yeah. Or use it for their own purposes.
There's that too. I mean, we can look at like the Crusades, we can look at the whole creating of Lutheranism and Protestants, like that was done.
The Reformation.
Yeah, that was all done just to like so Henry could remarry, that sort of thing. So, like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the King of England.
Yeah.
So, when you say, so you're saying you're not, I guess, stuck or like limiting your view of God to say
I wouldn't say
Catholic view.
Yeah, I don't try. I'm trying to be very open into other beliefs because you never know, right? What's the difference between one idea to the other?
Yeah.
Especially when you consider like take the Bible. A lot of people think it's like one of the oldest books. Like a lot of the texts are based off Sumerian texts or made off of the Jewish. The Hebrew Bible as well, as a lot of the stories mix and match there.
Yeah.
So like there's correlations between all of it. So
yeah. Have you studied other religions?
I've gone a little bit. I wouldn't say I've studied like to the extreme point, but like I have looked into a lot of other religions more for the, I guess you could say, the mythology and the information behind it than the actual like spirituality.
Okay.
Because I find it
like
more
the history or
like
something?
the history, the knowledge, the information that came from it.
Yeah. And did you like go to a Catholic high school or like?
No, because I went to what was it, Lane Tech High School up in the north side. So
yeah.
So I won't say that Catholic.
So I guess just kind of getting back to like the idea that God exists. Would you say you would lean towards God being a personality as far as a being that has consciousness and one that makes decisions and one that we could have a relationship with? Or would God be like impersonal, like a force of some sort, like energy or something like that, I guess?
I would say it's probably more of a mix of the two, because I see God as there's some form of higher presence that decides things, but at the same time, like you can sense it as in more of a spirituality idea, like reason, like you get guided by God, which you could argue more of the personality compared to like the force, like nature, things like that,
Yeah.
which are more controlled forces, not really conscious, I guess you could say. So I would say it's more of a mix between the two than an actual like, oh, it's just the force, or it's just or there's a conscious being to the side at all.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a if it is it's more of a hands-off approach, I guess you could say.
Like, I guess the reason I asked that is, like, do you feel like God can judge us? You know, like, do you feel like? I'm pretty sure you would say you have a conscience. You know, like a moral conscience.
Yeah, of course.
How do you feel like God would judge you according to what you've done or what you know?
I think God can judge you, but I think it's part of the fact that because he's a higher being, he accepts the fact that the things that he pushes beyond just the judgment part of it, to like acceptance of the fact of what you do.
So he would know, like, maybe we've done some things that maybe we're not happy with, but he knows the circumstances behind it, kind of thing. Would you say it's like that?
It's like, more like because if you follow like the whole idea, it's like we're considered imperfect beings to like a higher being, which is God. So then he would know the fact that we're technically inferior to him, so we are bound to make more mistakes. So it's not really a judgment.
He'd be understanding.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're saying.
Yeah.
So, because I get it that, you know, like, man's judgment, you know, you go to a court of law.
Yeah, of course.
The judge can't read your mind.
No.
You know, he doesn't know the intent behind what you did, you know.
No, and there's a lot of other factors into that as well.
Yeah, and what you grew up with, your experiences, God would know all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you think God would say you're a good person?
I don't see why not. I wouldn't say, like everyone, I've probably done mistakes in life. I wouldn't say I've done like anything horrific or horrendous.
Yeah. Do you think some people have?
I'm sure there have. I mean, we've seen through people that have done terrible, terrible things.
Yeah, like the Crusades. You know, like some of the things we're talking about.
Like I said, we said the Crusades, but like even more recently, like we could go into like the mass murderers or like the people who literally just gunned down in like schools and things like that.
Yeah. Do you think you would be better than some people?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I would consider myself better than anyone else.
Right. But yet there's some horrible people out there.
I mean, there's always gonna. But that's the thing. They're horrible in my regard, based on my sense of morality.
Yeah.
Compared to someone else's sense of morality.
Yeah. So, but God would understand maybe.
But that's the thing. Like, he would know based on his view of the notion. Like, I can't. It's hard for me to comprehend his thought process compared to his.
So it's possible that you and I could be on the same level as Hitler.
It's very possible. That is very possible.
I mean,
he did
not
use
to
religion.
go there, but
no, he did use religion. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I mean that's the whole. That goes into the notion. Like we go into the because you could go to the extremism like Jainism, where harming any form of living thing is like a sin, to the point that they die because they don't eat anything, because plants are living things.
That's why there's not very many Jainists around.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that about them. I guess I kind of knew that, but
yeah, they go to like
extreme
everything.
pacifists.
Like you can't harm any living thing.
Yeah.
So it becomes an issue.
So when you said that you're kind of Catholic, you grew up, so was it that your parents didn't really go themselves? Or
no, so my parents weren't very religious. My mother was raised very religiously, but she herself wasn't religious per se. So I was raised in the idea that there is religion, there is a God, but I wasn't like forced into like the whole heavy teachings and like all the organized religions and everything. So that's why I say I'm more Catholic probably in name only.
Yeah. I think there's a name for that. C-I-N-A or
Yeah,
O.
it's Christian.
Sino. Catholic and name. So, let me ask you this. It's cold out. I want to respect
No,
your
of course.
time. If you were to, so I'm not Catholic, just so you know.
Yeah.
I go to a Protestant church.
Which is fine. Like,
Yeah.
each their own.
But just so you know where I'm coming from. So I read the Bible a lot.
Mhm.
It does say that there is a God who does
Mhm.
hold us accountable, who loves us very much, but also loves holiness and
Yeah.
loves justice. And along with justice comes accountability. Like that's where the whole judgment comes in,
Yeah.
you know. So if you were judged by God according to what you know in the Bible, I'm not saying necessarily that you believe it, but if it were to be true, you die, you wake up, it's
Mhm.
Judgment Day, you're standing before your Creator, you know. According to biblical standards, do you think God would say you're a good person, or?
I would say
Or
so.
not?
I've never really stolen anything. I've never really told anyone.
Yeah.
Honor your father
Good
and
to hear.
mother. Yeah, right. Not
you
one
ever-
something you want.
Mike, have you ever, I'll give you a little test. Have you ever told a lie?
Yeah, I can say that. I
Okay,
have.
the Bible says you shall not bear false witness,
Yeah.
right? So you'd be a liar, and it says
Yeah.
no liars shall enter the kingdom of heaven, you know, that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So you never stole anything, you never took anything of any kind of value that wasn't yours, like downloaded something from the internet, or took
No.
credit, or maybe worked on the clock, but were doing personal things or whatever, nothing like that.
No, nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing like I would say knowingly just like stealing.
That's good. So, and you haven't murdered anyone, but then
No.
Jesus said, if, you shall not murder, but then he says, but if you have anger in your heart towards your brother, and you call him a fool, so basically call someone a bad name in anger, you're in danger of the fire of hell. You ever called anyone a bad name? You seem like a nice guy, so maybe you didn't.
I've definitely called people idiots before. I can say that. But that's
Okay.
more for
Like in a joking way?
jokingly, or like more of like if I see them do something that is detrimental to themselves, I guess you could say.
Yeah. But
Oh,
just not ever just got mad and called
No,
someone a
not
name.
typically just like get mad and like, oh, you're this and that.
Yeah. Well, that's good too. I mean, that's awesome. Most people, have done that sort of thing. And really what Jesus was saying, it's wrong to kill someone, like physically kill them, but
Mhm.
don't even hurt people with your words,
Mhm.
And then he went on and he said, you've heard adultery is wrong, sex outside of marriage, but he said, but I say to you, even if you look with lust, you're committing adultery in your heart,
Mhm.
Something you've done?
Then yeah, probably.
Okay.
I can
So-
admit to that.
So you're like 2 for 4 here. you
Yeah.
know?
Oh wow.
And so my point, I mean, these are some of the 10 commandments.
Yes.
And my point is that according to the standard of the Bible, well, I don't want to make the point for you.
No,
Would
no,
you
I get
be guilty or innocent?
Then
I'll let you judge yourself. That's what I'm trying to say.
well, that's the thing. Yeah, based on the Bible, like cut and dry, probably guilty.
Guilty. Okay. So would you deserve heaven or hell for that? Like if those are the options which the Bible presents,
Then
heaven
yeah.
is for those who are holy, and how would you, and the innocent, you'd be guilty.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to.
No, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. So I'm just trying to say, like, there is a standard that's different than maybe our standard, which would
But
be.
that's where we go into it. Like we're talking about God, and who is a higher being, so his standard of what's holy and isn't
Yeah.
would be different necessarily from our notion of holy.
Yeah. So human standard is we compare ourselves to other people, and we can almost always think of people who are worse than ourselves. Hitler becomes very convenient then,
Of course.
And so yeah, God's standard would be perfection. Jesus actually said that. You must be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. That's a hard standard, I
Yeah.
mean, that's.
Which is
And
also why
Here's the thing.
Jesus gave
I'm
himself
guilty.
to forgive our
Yeah, he
faults.
did talk. So I would be guilty like you, right?
Mhm.
Now, if I was to repent and turn from my sins and never sin again, which I can't do
No,
because.
of course.
But if I did, I'm still guilty of the things I already did.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how can I get rid of my guilt? You know, you're talking about forgiveness. Yeah, I don't want justice on Judgment Day, because then I'll get what I deserve, which would be hell, punishment. I want mercy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want God to have mercy on me. Well, but God loves justice, so there must be a punishment for sin. How can God forgive me? So Christianity, Catholicism, Christianity says, God, instead of us taking the punishment, God's willing to take it for us. That's where Jesus comes in. He died on the cross.
That's why he died.
Yeah. So, so justice is still served. There's still a punishment for sin. It's just that we don't have to take it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So for me, I became a Christian. I was born again as a Christian. How old are you?
About to be 30.
Okay. Well, I was in my late teens and became a Christian, and it was like, wow. You mean I'm going to heaven, and I know I don't deserve it. God, you did that for me. You gave your life for me. You know, the reaction was like, now how can I give my life for you? Like, what can I do to thank you? What can I do to show you my gratitude?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a different motivation than thinking, because a lot of people think Christianity is like, or Catholicism, Christianity, whatever, it's like you have to do enough good in order to earn heaven, right? But it actually teaches, no, we could never. The bad news is we could never do that much good. We can't undo the bad we've done. But the good news is salvation is there for everyone who puts their faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
You know. So, let me ask you this: do you feel like you were saying that you don't like organized religion?
Yeah.
Right. Because I know that Catholic religion is, faith is. It's a very formal form of Christianity.
It's a lot more formal than the other.
And so it seems very religious, right? When I think about like rituals and, memorized prayers and things, it's like they're almost, I don't want to say they're like spells, but
it's probably closer to the idea of, say, Wiccans or
like you got to repeat these prayers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know if you think about what the prayers say, they're very meaningful. I grew up Lutheran, and some of the prayers I memorized were very meaningful, but it's easy to just kind of go through the motions. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And had you ever thought that God, well, when you do think of God, do you think of God as a creator?
So that one's always been interesting to me, because something had to have started, so I feel it kind of like the creation.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole science. Like, he created it, which allowed science to do everything to what it is. That's how I view it.
I understand. Like, kind of like he wound it up and then
just let it go.
Established the laws.
Exactly.
And
that is the, I guess you could say, kind of like the laws of the universe, and just let it go on its way.
Yeah.
So he does like more of a very hands-off approach.
Yeah. There's actually a theory that's called the Watchmaker Theory. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
I can't say
it's like the watchmaker made the watch, and then he winds it up, and then he sits back to see if it's going to work.
Yeah.
And so Christianity would say, no, God is much more intimately involved in everything. As a matter of fact, he's the one that provides just the very energy, keeps it all together. Even, and the energy that keeps it going. And but it also says that he's intimately involved in his creation in terms of man is his made in his own image, and that we can actually have a relationship with God that other animals, can't have, or other living things, or rocks and trees, obviously.
Yeah.
So that we're made in a way where we can actually relate to God. Not that we would know everything about God. We're made in his image. That doesn't mean, like an image in a mirror is not the real thing.
No, it's inferior to the...
Yeah. So there's ways in which we're like God, where we can relate to God. And so I guess the reason I brought that up is because I'm wondering, did you ever think that you could have a relationship with your Creator? Because that's really the essence. I mean, if you read through the Bible, that's what God is trying to do.
Well, that's the thing. So That goes into the whole. I see it more as the spirituality part of it, or your relationship is more like necessarily like the things you feel around you more than anything. Like spiritual, like say like you feel air, things like that, or like almost like an intuition, I guess you could think of it.
Kind of an awareness, maybe.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I would see it more of the intimate side in terms of God and religion.
That almost sounds kind of like I don't want to say maybe Buddhist or Eastern, like a connection to everything else that's around you, you know?
Well, Buddhist is more like they believe in the middle ground, not necessarily, it's more of a teaching than an actual religion.
Yeah. And trying to empty yourself of emotion and things like that.
Not necessarily empty, but it's more of about living a middle ground.
Okay. So a lot of Eastern religions, they actually believe that God is part of the creation. It's called pantheistic. That God is in everything, and which would also mean that we're part of God, you know.
Yeah, which is
Christianity would say no, there's a God existed and then brought creation into existence. Which for me is real satisfying because it's like, well, God made us for a reason. We have a reason for existing, you know. I have a purpose in life.
Yeah, that goes into what the meaning of life is.
Yeah, I mean it does, and the Bible says we exist to glorify God, you know, to make Him known and to be in relationship, to enjoy God, you know, to enjoy our Creator. And so I don't know. Have you ever would you consider taking now that, you know, like, when would you say you kind of left the whole, like, you know, Christianity and kind of went in another direction?
Well, that's the thing. I can't really say. You were
never part of it, I guess.
Yeah, I've never really went to, because when I was younger, for the interest of it, I did go to church by myself.
You did?
Yeah, for a little while. More for the interest of it than the actual, like, no, like I wasn't forced into it, nothing like that. More for the interest of it.
Yeah. Had you, like, so it sounds like you've checked out a few religions. Like, it seems like you know something about Buddhism, Jainism, you know.
Yeah.
Had you ever looked at I guess what I'm asking is, have you ever taken a fresh look at Christianity as an adult now? Well, and said, okay, because we grew up in a Christian culture, like, where it's very familiar, and so I think the temptation is to say, well, I pretty much know all about that. I'm going to check out all these other religions that I don't know about, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's not just when I look into religions, particularly, like, Christianity was part of it, because part of the big issue, like, when you go into, like, Christianity, you go into, like, the whole stories, which a lot of it starts to mix into the other forms of Christianity. Like, you could take Jewish, which a lot of stories,
the Old Testament, and
the Old Testament compared to the new one. So I wouldn't say that I've said, oh, I know everything about this one, let me move into the next one.
Okay.
So it was more, I wanted to see, just for the interest of the ideas and concepts, I went into each and every single one.
Yeah. So you kind of checked them all out, including Christianity.
Of course, yeah. Okay. Because, like, particularly, like, we go into, like, because Judaism has a huge amounts of mythology into it.
Yeah.
For example, which are, some of them are based on Christian stories as well, or vice versa, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah. That's interesting. It sounds like you've spent some time looking into these.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
Religion is a very interesting concept. Yeah. Not necessarily, I don't want to say concept, because that sounds like, it makes it sound man-made, I guess you could say, but not really. Because there's two aspects to it. There's the spirituality of it, and then there's, like, the physical, which is more morality and the other parts.
Yeah.
So that's why religion's always been an interesting idea.
Well,
I wouldn't say idea.
It affects world history, politics.
Exactly, it affects everything.
Yeah. Well, if I could break it down with all, you know, if I was to say, let's look at all the world religions, obviously, I mean, I'm a Christian, so I favor Christianity. Why?
Of course.
Okay, why? I know there's a lot of religions. I know they all teach, all the major ones basically teach if you're a good person in this life, you'll have a better life to come, kind of
Yeah.
thing. They all teach ethics, you know, morals.
Yep.
So why would I say I'm a Christian and not just say I just believe in all of them, right? Well, there are some real differences. And I would say the thing that makes Christianity unique, different than any other religion, is the idea that we can't, what do we have in common? We all share this idea that, you know, we have a moral conscience and we fail it. We don't do the good things that we know we should do, and we do oftentimes things that we know we shouldn't do. And the Bible actually says that comes from God. It's a God-given moral conscience.
Yeah.
And we fall short of it. And how can we have a relationship with our Creator if we've broken our God-given conscience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most religions, and even Christianity, when people don't understand it, they tend to think this, is that it's what's called works-based religion, where you work and do good works in order to deserve this better afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Christianity actually says, it's got bad news. It says you could never pay for the bad things you've done.
Yeah.
The good things you ought to do anyway.
Yeah, which goes into Hinduism, which is reincarnation, which if you have a bad life, because they believe in a caste system,
Yeah.
you're born in a lower caste, so that's your punishment for what you did in your previous life.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, like I say in general, so that would be like you earn a better life over many lives.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
you
in
earn
a sense.
Which is you achieve nirvana. No, you achieve.
No, nirvana is Buddhism.
Buddhism, yeah. I'm just saying, like, so it happens over many lives instead of just one life, but
and we could go into
so they're different that way. Yeah.
There's the ceremonial, which takes Shintoism, which is not very spiritual, it's more ceremonial than anything else.
Okay. So Christianity would be different because we can't earn that better life to come. Christ did it for us. You know? And the one thing that's really different about Christianity is Christ himself. You know, the Bible actually says if you want to know God, look at Christ. He's the image of the invisible God. Like if you look at his life, if God was a man, he would be like Jesus. Well, what the Bible says is God did become a man and he was Jesus. And what would he do and say, you know? And to revisit maybe the Gospels and to just really look at it like, what if Jesus really is God? What would that mean about my relationship with God? You know, and you start to look at some of the things he said and did, and then the idea that he went to the cross and died for me, you know. Can I challenge you with that, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Say, check out the New Testament, the four Gospels, and read them through.
Okay.
Sound like a good challenge?
Yeah. I will read through the four Gospels. Good.
That would be great. That would be great. So I'm going to give you something else to read, and I'll turn this off.
Oh, sure.
And sometimes I forget it's even on.